I have officially tested 35 of the most highly rated, hyped up Asian sunscreens to help you figure out which ones are going to be the very best fit for you. And over the past year, as I've been testing these sunscreens, I have been getting tons of footage for you guys, including up close swatches so you can get a true feel for the texture, application to my face so you can see how they actually apply and blend in, finish once they have fully dried down so that you can see what they actually look like on my skin, and of course, as always, I have been taking diligent notes that I will be sharing with you guys on all of the important features of these sunscreens, including sunscreen filters used, key and active ingredients, and more. We obviously have quite a bit to get through in this video, so let's just dive right in. When I do these giant reviews, I really like to try to categorize them as much as possible, otherwise I feel like it's kind of a hodgepodge and difficult to follow. So for this video, I have decided to categorize these sunscreens by texture, and we will work our way from the lightest, most watery textures into the thickest and creamiest as we go. Which means the first category are the sunscreens that I would consider to have a true gel texture, which includes those that have a slight variation of a gel texture, like let's say a gel serum or a gel cream. So first up of our gel sunscreens is the Nivea UV Super Water Gel. This is an SPF 50 that is one of the few sunscreens in this video that has a PA rating of +++. Every other sunscreen, unless I specifically call out otherwise, has a PA rating of +++++. 4 pluses. This is 3. And the active ingredients or sunscreen filters in this include octinoxate, Uvinyl A+, and Uvinyl T150. Key and active ingredients include hyaluronic acid and a tree bark extract, and this is fragrance-free. But despite being fragrance-free, this is not completely scentless because it does smell like alcohol. And that's something that quite a few Asian sunscreens have, this kind of alcohol-like scent, because when you look at the ingredients list, you will see that alcohol is towards the very top of the label. That is not something that bothers me. It's actually something I tend to really enjoy in an Asian sunscreen because for the most part, it just allows them to dry down much more quickly and have more of a weightless feel on the skin once they are fully dry. And while it's not a scent that lingers after I've applied it, I'll make sure to call that out for each sunscreen that does kind of smell like alcohol in case that's something that really bothers you. And I will also call out whether or not these sunscreens are water resistant, which in this case, this one is not. This has a soft gel serum texture that goes watery immediately as you start to apply it. You can also feel it drying down immediately, which again, I suspect is because of that higher alcohol content. And to me, this is one of the few sunscreens that has a completely weightless dry down. So it doesn't feel like it's a moisturizer on my skin. It doesn't even feel like I've applied a serum, truly weightless. And I would consider this one to have more of a natural finish. In looking at the footage, I do feel like the high points of my face look a little bit dewy, but I feel like that's more so because of how the sun is reflecting on my face versus the actual sunscreen itself. So for all of this footage, I applied it in completely natural lighting. I'm sitting in front of a window. Well, right now I have studio lights, but for the application footage, the finish, etc. of all of these sunscreens, I did not use studio lights because that is obviously going to make everything look much shinier than it actually is. However, I obviously cannot control the weather.
Well, damn, Jackie, I can't control the weather.
And some days are just much brighter and sunnier than others. So that's more what's going on here, like my skin just reflecting off of the brightness of the window and not the sunscreen itself making my skin look super dewy. So overall, this is a sunscreen that I really enjoy, and it would be something that I would continue to reach for if it were not for this video that I found when researching all of these sunscreens. So there's a blog/YouTube channel called Chemist Confessions that is run by 2 chemists, and they posted a video review of this sunscreen where they explained some concerns that they had with it. I'll list that video in the description box below so that you can watch it in your own time, but basically their summary in the description box of this video says that they don't feel comfortable recommending it simply because it's not easy to achieve a uniform film, and sunscreens are only as good as the uniform film it creates. And in the video, when they're showing and explaining this issue, they specifically said that that was the only time they had ever experienced that in testing Asian sunscreens before. They do also say that you should not make hard conclusions from UV cameras simply because cameras only capture a specific wavelength of light and not the full UV spectrum. But the fact that 2 chemists are concerned/confused enough by this to not want to recommend it to anybody definitely does just give me pause and make me want to reach for something else. So again, I'll list that in the description box below. Use that to make whatever decision you would like about this sunscreen, but I did just want to call that out because I'm obviously not a chemist, and when 2 chemists bring up concerns like that, I'm like, Moving on, we will be much quicker about the rest of these because I don't have any other random side notes like that about any of these other sunscreens. Next in the true gel category is the newer version of the Skin Aqua sunscreen. This is the Skin Aqua Super Moisture UV Gel. Sunscreen filters include octinoxate, Tinosorb M, Uvinyl A+, and Tinosorb S. Key and active ingredients include hyaluronic acid, super hyaluronic, hydrolyzed collagen, and arginine, and it is fragrance-free. This is another that does definitely have a bit of that alcohol-like scent, and this one is water resistant. I would describe this one as being a very fluid, lightweight gel that is slightly milky. It has a water-light texture that thins out to feel nearly weightless, but it does have a little bit more of a moisturizing quality than the original Skin Aqua, which we will get to in a second. I'll just hold up this bottle though so that you know what I'm talking about. This has actually technically been discontinued, but you can still get your hands on it, so I'll still cover it. And this one I do feel I have to work with a little bit to make sure that it's not streaky, but it's nothing terrible. I would say it's mostly areas like around my nose. So just be mindful of that as you're applying, because like we just saw with that Chemist Confessions video, the film that you create with that sunscreen is what's most important. And I would say that the finish of this is naturally glowy. It's not like fully to the point of being glowy on my skin, but it's also not a completely natural dry down for me, kind of somewhere in between. This is a sunscreen that I will definitely be keeping in my collection. I just love a watery sunscreen, and while it's not something that I always reach for, it's something that I definitely need to have on hand because there are days when I'm like, that's all I want. This is just the type of thing that you will never find in the States until the FDA approves some new filters, which, let's be real, is probably never gonna happen at this rate. Next up in the gel category is the Biore UV Aqua Rich Watery Essence. Sunscreen filters include octinoxate, Uvinyl T150, Uvinyl A+, and Tinosorb S. Key and active ingredients are xylitol, arginine, and hyaluronic acid. This one does have added fragrance, but initially when applying this, I'm mostly still just smelling that alcohol. This one does claim to be water resistant, and the texture is very similar to the Nivea sunscreen. I would also describe it as having a gel serum texture that goes watery as you apply. It's just a little bit thicker and a little bit more emollient than Nivea. I would consider the finish of this to be glowy, and in looking at the footage, I'm like, it's almost a little bit radiant, where there's like a tiny bit of that highlight effect, which I think looks really nice. And the dry down of this, I would say, is like hydrated, but basically transparent. This is another that I'll keep in my collection, at least until I finish up the bottle. I don't think that I need both Skin Aqua and Biore. I think that I'll just continue to use both, and then once they're done, I'll decide on what I want to actually keep permanently. They're really so similar that you can't really go wrong if you are looking for this kind of weightless, watery sunscreen. But otherwise, there aren't really, I don't think, any other sunscreens left in this video that have this light of a texture, given the fact that this one again is being discontinued, or already was. Next up is the Verdio UV Super Moisture Gel. The sunscreen filters are octinoxate, Uvinyl A+, titanium dioxide, Uvinyl T150, and Tinosorb S. Inactive ingredient highlights are Cica and ginger root extract, and this one is fragrance-free. This is one that just doesn't really smell like anything when I'm applying it, and it does claim to be water resistant. I would say that this one is like a step thicker or a step milkier than the gel serum sunscreen, so I would maybe consider this to be like a gel lotion, but it still is very fluid, incredibly lightweight. It's just that it's slightly more emollient, so it has more of that like serum feel on the skin versus complete water. This is one that has actually been reformulated over the years. That is actually something that is super common with Asian sunscreens. They're constantly being discontinued, either just to be gone and then relaunch with something completely else, or to be reformulated. And when I originally fell in love with this, it was not nearly as glowy in finish as it is now. Now I look at the footage and I'm like, dang. But this is an interesting one because it's not wet looking, which is what I consider to be dewy. Like, I feel like I should have described that in the beginning. So when it comes to finish, I feel like there's matte, which is something that actually mattifies the look of oil, makes your skin look flatter and drier. And on me, none of these sunscreens are matte. Then there's natural, which again is just like something that dries down to your natural skin finish. Then we have naturally glowy, where there's like a tiny bit of a glow, but still natural. Straight up glowy, which is something that I think just looks like healthy, hydrated, like you have skincare on. Then we have dewy, which to me is something that looks like there's a wetness on the face, like you've just spritzed your face with some sort of skincare spray and there's like a wet juice to it, you know? This one I don't feel is like that. Like this intense glow is more glassy. And then I personally feel that those things are different from a radiant finish, where it's almost like there's a luminosity there, a little bit of a highlightery effect. Maybe the better word is like iridescence. Like there's something like that going on, which to me is different from just like a hydrated skincare look and a wet dewy look. Anyway, so this one for me is super glowy to the point of looking glassy on my skin, and it dries down to feel like a moisturizer. A lightweight one, but there is definitely a feel to it versus the others that feel like nothing. So if you are looking for a sunscreen that gives you that glass skin finish, then this is one that you will absolutely love, but I don't think that I'll keep it in my collection after I have fully used it up because I feel like it's a bit too much for me. Like with the skincare I already use, with the complexion products I use for makeup, I don't feel that I need to go to this level because it can start to look greasy. At least on my skin, which does lean oily, and in the past year I think has gotten oilier just as I've gotten older and hormones have changed. I mean, I started getting acne again. It's been a whole thing. So all that to say, I am just not personally in the department of needing a sunscreen like that. But I know that there are several of you who would absolutely die for that kind of finish. Next up is the Sunkiller Perfect Water Essence. Sunscreen filters include octinoxate, Uvinyl A+, Tinazorb S, and titanium dioxide. Inactive highlights include hyaluronic acid and aloe vera extract, and this one does have added fragrance that I personally think smells like lemon cleaner, which I loathe. This one claims to be sebum resistant, but doesn't have any explicit claims about being water resistant. And at first it looks like it's going to be one of those true watery gel sunscreens, but I would say that it's more of a gel lotion because it's a little bit more emollient than that. This has a very glassy finish that I also feel is a bit radiant, and it dries down to feel like a very light moisturizer. This is another that I am not going to keep. I think honestly the biggest reason why is the lemon cleaner scent. I just get so grossed out by that when I'm applying something on my face. I don't know if that's just me, but it's not my thing. And then on top of that, I think the finish again is just something that's like a bit too much for what I am looking for. But if you're okay with a lemon cleaner scent and you want that glass skin that's also a bit radiant, then this is going to be beautiful for you. Next is one of the first Asian sunscreens I ever fell in love with. It is the Canmake Mermaid Skin Gel UV. Sunscreen filters are octinoxate, Uvinyl A+, Tinazorb S, zinc oxide, and titanium dioxide, and inactive highlights include arginine, hyaluronic acid, and several plant extracts. This is fragrance free, and I don't think that there's like any smell that I notice with this, and this one is not water resistant. This one is a slightly creamier version of a gel, so one that I would maybe consider to be a gel cream hybrid, and it has an incredibly lightweight but hydrated dry down. The finish of this one is very glowy to the point of starting to look a bit dewy, and also has a really beautiful radiance. What I love about a sunscreen like this is that if you are looking for that kind of finish, it's something that you can so easily incorporate into your routine regardless of your skin type. Like if you're somebody that's incredibly oily and just can't stand the feel of a sunscreen that's thicker or creamier, but you still want that kind of finish, then you could still enjoy this. But if you have dry skin, it's something that you can easily use on top of a thicker moisturizer because of how light it is. While this again was one of my very first Asian sunscreen loves, it's not something that I feel I have a need for at this point in time because I've just tried so many other Asian sunscreens since discovering this that I think fit what I am looking for even better in terms of finish. But gosh, it's a cute little sunscreen, isn't it? Last for our true gel sunscreens is the Beauty of Joseon Ginseng Moist Sun Serum. Okay. Sunscreen filters are Uvinyl A+, Tinazorb S, Uvinyl T150, amyloxate, and polysilicone 15. Key inactive highlights include various forms of ginseng extract, so like root, the berry, the leaf, in addition to niacinamide and adenosine. This one is technically free of added fragrance, but it does have essential oils and a lot of them. I feel like it has a slight citrusy smell with alcohol. And this one does not make claims to be water resistant. Out of all of the gel sunscreens in this video, I would say that this is the thickest while still being very lightweight. It's kind of like a plush gel because it's definitely not one that goes watery or feels completely weightless. The dry down is more of a hydrated moisturizer-like feel. And the finish of this is very glowy to dewy, which I do feel ends up being a bit too much for my skin type these days, but I can appreciate the fact that this is going to be right up some of your alleys. Some of your alleys. We got multiple alleys. Right up your alley for some of you, okay? Especially because of the texture. This is one that I just really enjoy applying, and if it had a little bit more of a natural finish than it does, I feel like this would be a holy grail for me. That is it for our gel sunscreens. Now we are going to move on to those that I consider to be fluid lotions. And some people may still consider these sunscreens to be gel-like, but I feel like for me, they pass that threshold of having that like true jelly texture to being more of a lotion, even though some of these are super lightweight as well. First up is the Missha All-Around Safe Block Essence Sun Milk. Sunscreen filters are octinoxate, octocrylene, octisalate, avobenzone, and tinazorb S, and inactive key highlights. Hello, what? Key inactive ingredient highlights are aloe leaf extract, glucose, and sorbitan olivate. This one does have added fragrance, which I would say smells like floral alcohol. It definitely still has that alcohol scent, but there's like some floweriness to it too. And this one is water resistant. The texture of this is an ultra light liquidy lotion that is slightly milky, but not very emollient at all. It does have that true watery blend and watery or transparent dry down with a natural finish. So I love all of that about this, but this is one that I feel does irritate my skin a bit. So I am not going to personally continue to use it. I suspect it's the added fragrance that tends to be something that when heavily present in sunscreen does just kind of give me that like red irritated flush. Could be something else, but for that reason, I'm not keeping you. This over even the Mermaid gel was my original very first Asian sunscreen love. This is what introduced me to the world of Asian sunscreens, and I have not gone back since. It is the original Skin Aqua UV Super Moisture Gel. So the new replacement of this is the Super Moisture UV Gel versus UV Super Moisture Gel, but you can just tell the difference obviously because of the packaging. So old, technically discontinued, but still available on a lot of sites. And the sunscreen filters in this are octinoxate, tinazorb S, and uvinyl T50, with key and active highlights being hyaluronic acid, hydrolyzed collagen, and arginine. This is fragrance-free, but it does smell like alcohol, and this one does claim to be water resistant. Keep in mind when I'm telling you whether or not a sunscreen is water resistant, it's just based on the manufacturer brand claims, not like based on some sort of testing I'm doing where I'm like jumping in a pool of water to see if it holds up. And the texture of this is what I would describe as being a ultra lightweight lotion with a true water-like kind of blend and dry down. This one does have a little bit of a milky quality at first, but that starts to go away as it dries. And the finish of this is completely natural on my skin, which I would say is the one thing that I am sad about with this new sunscreen, just the fact that it does have a bit more of a glow. It's obviously not like crazy glowy, but I just loved having this option of something that was just completely watery, completely natural finish. Like everything about this was perfect when I wanted a sunscreen that just didn't like alter anything that I already had on my skin or was going to use on top of it. So this is a true L for the sunscreen loving community, the fact that this is being discontinued, but there are so many other sunscreens in this video that I absolutely love, so I can accept that with sadness, but with grace. Moving on, we have the House of Her Weightless Sun Fluid, which contains the sunscreen filters Uvinyl T150, Mexoryl SX, Uvinyl A+, Polysilicone 15, and Tinazorb S. Really not much going on here for inactive ingredients. The only thing I noticed was honey extract and the fact that this is fragrance-free. I've never noticed a smell when applying this, and I'm not smelling anything now. To me, this one feels like a velvety fluid lotion. I don't feel that this one is watery in the way that some of the other sunscreens we've talked about are, but it is so lightweight. Like after this completely dries down, when I touch my skin, it feels like I have nothing on it. And there's just something about that that makes me really enjoy applying this. The finish of this one is completely natural on me, so if you haven't already guessed it, this is absolutely one that I'm keeping. I feel like I'm actually towards the end of it. I can feel it's getting closer to empty because I have been reaching for this non-stop. It's just one of those rare gems that doesn't have that alcohol-like smell or dry down if that's not something that you're into, while still being insanely lightweight and being completely natural and finished. Like, this is an incredible sunscreen. Another incredible sunscreen that you may have heard me talk about a time or two is the Tocobo Bio Watery Sun Cream. Sunscreen filters are Uvinyl T150, Mexoryl SX, Uvinyl A+, Polysilicone 15, and Tinasorb S. Key inactive ingredient highlights are niacinamide, skullcap root, ulmus extract, hyaluronic acid, and adenosine. This one is not fragrance-free. It does have kind of like a planty greenhouse kind of smell, but I have actually grown to really love that. Strangely enough, I feel like that's usually something I would not be into, and this one does not irritate my skin despite that fragrance. And this one is not water resistant. This has a serum-y lotion-like texture that is very fluid, super soft, silky, and hydrating. It dries down very quickly for me and feels kind of satiny to the touch, where it's not like a creamy moisturizer, it's not nothing, it's really nice. It has a natural to naturally glowy finish, and overall is just a beautiful experience from start to finish. I absolutely love this sunscreen. I actually think that this is the sunscreen that I have gone through the most bottles of. Why'd I just do that? Since discovering it a couple of years ago, and it's one that I'm actually almost out of this too. I'm gonna keep rebuying it. I'm going to keep it in my collection. It is just divine. Next, for our fluid lotions, we have, why'd I say that like that? The Isntree Onion Fresh Fluid Sun Cream. Sunscreen filters in this include Uvinyl T150, Mexoryl SX, Uvinyl A+, Polysilicone 15, and Tinasorb S. Inactive highlights are niacinamide, hyaluronic acid, apple fruit extract, adenosine, biosaccharide gum 1, arginine, and sodium ascorbyl phosphate. This one is fragrance-free, and I don't remember smelling anything when applying it. Yeah, I don't really get much of a smell from this, and it does not have claims about being water resistant. This one is a fluid cream that also feels very silky and hydrating while still being lightweight. I really love how this feels to apply, and when I first tested it, I thought that I was gonna have a new favorite, but it unfortunately burns on my skin. It's not horrible, but it definitely isn't something that like goes away immediately. I continued to feel that kind of stinging, and I went to read reviews about it, and I saw a lot of other reviews saying that exact same thing. The dry down is like a lightweight moisturizer, and it has a natural to naturally glowy finish, so many things that I really enjoy about this, and if this does not make your skin sting or burn, then I think it's one that is beautiful and I would totally understand loving, but because it does that for me, I'm not going to keep using it. Another one of my very first Asian sunscreen loves is the Skin Aqua UV Super Moisture Milk, which I discovered upon preparing for this video has been discontinued, but as of right now, you can still purchase it. The active ingredients in this are zinc oxide, octinoxate, and Uvinyl A+, and inactive highlights are hyaluronic acid, hydrolyzed collagen, and arginine. It's fragrance-free and does have a little bit of an alcohol-like scent, but it's much more subtle than the others that I have described in that way so far. And this one does claim to be water resistant. This one has a very fluid, light, milky texture that strangely feels a little bit greasy to apply. It's actually the only Asian sunscreen in this video that has that kind of texture and application experience. It's just kind of strange to have something that's like seemingly so light and fluid and milky have a little bit of that greasy feel. It does dry down to have a natural finish on me, but because of that feel that I'm not obsessed with, it's just not one that I would want to continue to reach for when there are so many others that I do feel obsessed with in terms of texture and application. But since she's going away anyway, I guess it doesn't matter. Last in our fluid lotion category is something that could also probably go in just the straight up lotion category because it's the thickest and least fluid out of all of these, but I feel like this is still a good place. It is the Isntree Hyaluronic Acid Watery Sun Gel. Sunscreen filters in this are octisalate, homosalate, Tinasorb S, Tinasorb M, Polysilicone 15, and Uvinyl A+. Tons of inactive highlights like hyaluronic acid, niacinamide, Centella asiatica, ceramides, plant extracts, antioxidants, etc. This one is fragrance-free, no smell for me, and it is not water resistant. I do feel that this has a dewy finish, but it's not overly wet. It is like a bit more glassy than that. It's kind of like both of those things at once. And it dries down to feel like a lightweight moisturizer. This is the only one in this entire video that I feel like I noticed it stinging my eyes. That's something I'm asked all the time about sunscreens when I review them, and I will let you guys know if that's something that I experience, but usually with Asian sunscreens, that's not an issue that I have. Like typically I'm pretty safe in the eye stinging department if I am using one of these. I think part of the reason for that is that it also does kind of depend on the weather. Like if it's super windy out, then something's more likely to irritate my eyes. I think just because my eyes water when it's windy windy, and then there's probably just like movement in here. And the last time I wore this, I did go outside on a walk on a windy day. So that definitely tracks. It's just not something that I used to experience with this sunscreen, but it has been reformulated since it first went viral. So I won't be keeping this one. It's not something that I want to reach for over, let's say, like Tocobo or House of Her, but if it doesn't sting your eyes and you have dry skin, I feel like you'll be obsessed. Moving on to those that I would describe as having a lotion-like texture. First up is the Dalba UV Waterfull Essence. The sunscreen filters in this are octinoxate, homosalate, octisalate, Uvinyl A+, and Uvinyl T150. Tons of inactive highlights here as well. Niacinamide, Centella Asiatica, lots of plant extracts, sunflower seed oil, adenosine, xylitol glucoside, and hydroxyxylitol, sodium PCA, and glucose. Lots of hydrators. It is not fragrance free. This one has a very light citrus scent, which I actually love. You guys know I do not normally like that. This smells nice. Maybe it's like a floral citrus and that's why I like it. And this one doesn't irritate my skin. This is a soft, creamy lotion with a little bit of a gel quality. Like I could actually see the argument for this going in the gel category as well, but I feel like it has enough of that creaminess to it that I feel it's more of a lotion. And it is slightly watery as you blend, but definitely not one that I would say is straight up water-like. The finish is beautiful. It's glowy, it's slightly radiant, and it dries down to kind of feel satiny to the touch. Like a satin moisturizer, if you will. I absolutely love this sunscreen. I love applying it. It feels so light and hydrating and soft and refreshing. I think the finish is beautiful when I want that kind of a finish, but it's not too intense and too overwhelming. It's just gorgeous and something that I will continue to repurchase. It's another that I feel like I've gone through several bottles of because it's just good. My baby. So many of you probably see me lift up this bottle and skip ahead to the next sunscreen because of how much I have talked about this. I fell in love with this a few years ago and it is still one of the best Asian sunscreens I've ever tried. It is not my #1 all-time favorite anymore, but I still love it, and it is the Scinic. Why have I never noticed that at the top? It's right, all right. Enjoy, super mild sun essence. What on earth? Sunscreen filters in this are Uvinyl A+, Tinasorb S, Polysilicone 15, Tinasorb M, Uvinyl T150, and Uvisorb HEB. It also contains niacinamide, Centella Asiatica, hyaluronic acid, panthenol, green tea, and adenosine, while being fragrance-free with no smell that I've ever noticed, but not water resistant. This is a moisturizing lotion that I also think has a little bit of a gel quality, but compared to the Dalba Waterfull Essence, which I just kind of said that same thing about, I do think that it's a little bit creamier. I absolutely love the texture of this. It's so nice to apply. It's definitely why I immediately fell in love with it. It's just one of those that's special to me. It has a glowy finish and a dry down that I would say is like a slightly tacky moisturizer, so I think that it makes for a great base for makeup. So many of these do, but anything that has a little bit of tack is like especially nice for that, which is why, in addition to all of those other things that I just said, I seriously love this sunscreen. It's one that I'll always keep in my collection. Well, I shouldn't say always because sunscreens are constantly evolving. We're seeing, you know, innovation nonstop in this category, and this used to be my #1 favorite, but isn't anymore. So maybe someday I wouldn't have a need for it, but right now I surely do. Another that I have loved for a long time, and spoiler, continue to love, is the Make Prem UV Defense Me Daily Sun Essence. The sunscreen filters in this are Uvinyl A+, Uvinyl T150, Tinasorb M, and Uvisorb HEB. Inactive highlights are sunflower oil, black currant seed oil, pear extract, peach extract, and melon extract. And this is technically fragrance-free, but it does have several plant extracts in it in addition to those that I mentioned, like rosemary and rosewater flower and jasmine flower water, that I think are giving this the scent that it has, which I would say is just ever so slightly floral. It smells really nice, but it's subtle, which is what I really like about it, and it doesn't irritate my skin. And this one is not water resistant. This is a lightweight lotion that isn't as clear cut for me to describe as some of the others because I feel like it's a little bit milky. And as I'm rubbing it in my skin, I'm like, it feels a little bit serumy. But overall, I would say it's just really nice. It's hydrating. It's a little bit velvety. It's one of those sunscreens that I just really, really love to apply. When I originally reviewed this a couple of years ago, I wrote that the finish was natural matte. Now I'm like, this is not at all matte on my skin. I would just say it's truly natural, which is another thing that suspects me to believe that I am just oilier now. So I would say natural finish with a very nice satin dry down. Freaking love this sunscreen. Absolutely something that I am keeping for those days when I want something that's a little creamier, a little milkier, just has a bit more of a moisturizing quality. Watery. Oh, it's so good. Next is the Missha All Around Safe Block Aqua Sun, which contains the sunscreen filters octisalate, homosalate, tinasorb S, tinasorb M, polysilicone 15, and euvinyl A+. It has multiple forms of hyaluronic acid and beta glucan and does have added fragrance, which I think is like the worst in this entire video because of how strong it is. At first sniff, it actually kind of reminds me of the Way fragrance, Melrose Place, because it has this rose-like floral scent that I'm like, ooh, that actually smells good, but it is so overpowering. It does not fade for me. Like, I'll continue to sniff this throughout the day, and it's so it's so potent that it's one that's like headache inducing for me and starts to make me feel nauseous, which again doesn't happen to me with any of these other sunscreens. So I'm sure you can guess for that reason alone, I'm like, I cannot deal, but I'll review the rest of it in case you're still interested. This is water resistant and the texture is like a milky lotion that is slightly creamy. The finish is a bit dewy, but not too intensely dewy, and it has a light moisturizer dry down. So if that scent didn't bother you, I do feel like this is something that a lot of you would enjoy because it's not too much of anything. Like, yes, it's creamier and more moisturizing than some of the others, but it's not too creamy or heavy or greasy. It's a bit dewy, but not overly wet looking. There's a lot to enjoy here, but I just simply cannot even look at it for a second longer because I literally feel nauseous like thinking about how this smelled on my face the last time that I was wearing it when I was walking my dog. Why did I just say my dog? Like, you guys obviously know her name is Elsie. She's sleeping right now. Of course, you didn't think I was gonna do this video without reviewing what I would say was like the most viral Asian sunscreen ever. No, Purito, probably. And then this. This is the Beauty of Joseon Relief Sun Sunscreen, which has sunscreen filters including euvinyl A+, euvinyl T150, tinasorb M, and uvasorb HEB. Inactive highlights include niacinamide, adenosine, green tea, rice ferment, soybean ferment, pumpkin ferment, and sugarcane extract. This one is fragrance-free, and I've never noticed a smell with it. Nope. Nada. And it is not water resistant. We're starting to get a little bit thicker here while still not feeling heavy on the skin. I think that this one like looks thicker than it actually feels. I would describe it as a moisturizing lotion that is on the lighter side. It's not something that is super slippy or super emollient like the next few are. Like, yes, it's a little thicker than a lot of the others that we've covered, but still nice and light for me. The finish of this one is naturally glowy on my skin and it has a moisturizer dry down. I still absolutely love this. I think that it's one that's perfect for winter months for me when I do want something that's a bit more creamy and moisturizing, but I can even still wear this in the summer and not feel like it's too heavy because of the fact that it's not heavy. And I love that I can get that more moisturizing feel without a finish that's super wet. So that is another reason why I'll continue to use and love. Next is the Round Lab Birch Moisturizing Sunscreen, which has the sunscreen filters euvinyl A+, euvinyl T150, tinasorb M, and uvasorb HEB. The inactive highlights include niacinamide, hyaluronic acid, birch sap, licorice root, allantoin, purslane extract, chamomile oil, and vitamin C. This is fragrance-free and to me has the most subtle alcohol scent. Like, I feel like I'm really only smelling that because I'm holding it up to my nose and sniffing it, because when I apply it, I don't feel that I notice the smell of alcohol. And this one is water resistant. Compared to the Beauty of Joseon sunscreen, I do feel that this one is more slippy in texture. Like, I feel like I would describe it as a slippy lotion. It still is not heavy, but it's definitely one that feels moisturizing, which I do enjoy about it. And the finish is naturally glowy with a kind of moisturizer-like dry down to the touch. While I do like this sunscreen, I prefer Beauty of Joseon to this, and I also prefer some of these other options that we're going to talk about that are a bit more moisturizing and are a bit more creamy. I don't know, there's just something about this that I'm not obsessed with in the way that I am some of the others, but I still think it's really nice. And if you're someone that enjoys that kind of like slippy feel of a lotion when you're applying sunscreen, that I do think that you would really like this. I don't know, I feel like I'm just more of like a velvety lotion kind of girl than a slippy one, you know? But that's just me. Next up is the Skin 1004 Madagascar Centella Hyalu-Cica Water Fit Sun Serum. Say that 10 times fast. Active ingredients are euvinyl A+, euvinyl T150, tinasorb M, and uvasorb HEB. Inactive highlights include niacinamide, Centella asiatica, green tea, hyaluronic acid, and adenosine. This one, come on, is fragrance free. I really don't smell anything with this one. This I would say is really similar to What the heck did we just review? Hello? No, what? Oh. To this Round Lab sunscreen where I can smell the tiniest bit of alcohol when I am sniffing it on my hand, but I don't notice that when I apply it. 'Tis subtle enough. And this one is not water resistant. This I would describe as being an emollient lotion. It's definitely not watery at all, but it's very soft and it's very moisturizing. This has a naturally glowy finish and a light moisturizer dry down, and all around is definitely a sunscreen I enjoy. But if I had to compare this to Beauty of Joseon, because I feel like, you know, it's similar in the sense that they are kind of slightly creamier lotions that aren't super heavy, I do still prefer the texture of the Beauty of Joseon sunscreen. There's just something about this that like beats this for me, and I can't quite pinpoint what that is. I feel like it's just the fact that it's even lighter and less emollient, but if you want that, if you have drier skin, this is gonna be for you. Now we have one of my newer favorites, which is from COSRX. This is the Ultra Light Invisible Sunscreen. The sunscreen filters in this are Mexoryl XL, Uvinyl T150, Uvinyl A+, and Mexoryl SX. Inactive highlights include aloe water, niacinamide, witch hazel leaf water, adenosine, hyaluronic acid, and allantoin. This is fragrance free, but there's some sort of scent to this that I like. It's like, of course now as I'm sniffing this, I'm like, I smell nothing. Now I smell it. There it is. When I'm applying this, there's just like the lightest, most subtle scent. I'm like, is it floral? What is it? I can't exactly pinpoint it, but it's nice. And this is water resistant. I would describe this as being a serum-y lotion, but compared to something like Tocobo, which I also describe in that way, I would say that it's thicker, it's more emollient, and it's more moisturizing. In terms of the straight up like swatch texture on the back of my hand, I feel like it seems lighter or more runny than something like this Skin 1004 Centella, or the Round Lab Birch Juice sunscreen, but I feel like the way it dries down is a bit more moisturizing actually. So I would say that the dry down is like a moisturizer while also being a bit tacky, which I think makes for a great makeup base. And this one has a dewy, juicy skin finish, which surprisingly I have really been enjoying. I think there's just something about this that I really gravitate towards when I want something that feels extra moisturizing and gives me that why were those words not gonna work? I was gonna say glow boost and boost of a glow at the same time. You can see my confusion. I think I would describe it as like just a sunscreen that feels juicy to apply, and there's just something about that that I am always going to absolutely love. So this is what I reach for when I want not only that juicy feel, but that juiced up skin finish. Because sometimes I do want that, just not every day. The last category for this video is what I'm going to call creamy lotions / creams. And to kick off that category, we have the newer Beauty of Joseon Relief Sun Aqua Fresh Rice plus B5 sunscreen. Active ingredients in this are Uvinyl T150, Mexoryl XL, Mexoryl SX, Uvinyl A+, and Tinazorb S. Huge list of inactive key ingredients: panthenol, oat kernel extract, green tea leaf water, beta-glucan, biosaccharide gum 1, inositol, ferulic acid, rice bran oil, ceramide NP, hyaluronic acid, rice amino acids, and rice SH oligopeptide 1. This is fragrance free. I do not recall smelling anything. Yeah, no. And it's not water resistant. Okay, this sunscreen is not at all what I was expecting simply because of the name. Like for me, when I read Aqua Fresh, I'm expecting something that's watery, super light, maybe gel-like. And this is not like that at all. I actually feel that just in terms of texture and how it feels when you're rubbing it into your skin, there's something that's even creamier and more emollient about it than the original Beauty of Joseon, which again confused me because I thought this for sure was going to be like the lighter version of that. But this is surprisingly light in the way that it dries down. I would say that it has more of a light moisturizer dry down versus being like a heavy creamy one. And this one has a glowy finish. I'm not gonna keep this one because I do still prefer the original Beauty of Joseon sunscreen to this. I like the lighter feel, and even though yes, it dries down to feel light, so much of what I love about sunscreen and what I like find myself gravitating towards in a sunscreen is truly the way it applies. I mean, it's all of it, but that's a very important factor. And it's not that I don't like the way that this feels, it's just, again, I prefer the original, so I'm like, I don't need you. But if your skin leans drier, I could imagine you really loving this even more so than the original, especially because it dries down light, because it's not often that you have a texture like this that doesn't end up feeling a bit heavy on the skin. Oh, now we have one that, oh my gosh, for the longest time I was trying to get my hands on. It was out of stock everywhere. I kept hearing that like this was the best Asian sunscreen ever. It's the Numbuzin Clear Filter Sun Essence #1. The sunscreen filters in it are Uvinyl T150, Mexorol SX, Uvinyl A+, Polysilicone 15, and Tinasorb S. The inactive highlights include licorice root water, Centella asiatica, heartleaf extract, niacinamide, lots of other plant extracts, multiple forms of hyaluronic acid, adenosine, and biosaccharide gum 1. It is fragrance-free, I can't really smell anything, and it is not water resistant. I would describe this as being a creamy lotion that feels nice and moisturizing as you apply it while still not feeling heavy or overly thick. It has a lightweight moisturizer dry down, and the finish I would say is natural to naturally glowy. Like, it just definitely makes my skin look nice and hydrated. While it's definitely not the lightest Asian sunscreen that I own, it's one that I do want to keep in my collection for days when I want something that is a bit more moisturizing, especially because of the finish it gives my skin. I just feel like it looks extra healthy when I have this sunscreen on, and I do prefer this texture to the Beauty of Joseon Aqua Relief. I just feel like there's something about this that just feels a little bit lighter as I'm applying it while still giving me the moisture that I want when I want moisture from a sunscreen, because I don't always. So I do totally get the hype for this. I think it's a really beautiful sunscreen. Next up is it Hamish or Heimish? I think I'm gonna say Hamish. I don't think I've ever heard anyone say Heimish. Artless Glow Base. This one is only a PA+++. Again, everything else has had 4 pluses. This has 3. Active sunscreen filters include octinoxate, octisalate, and ensilisol, octocrylene, Uvinyl A+, and avobenzone. The inactive highlights include niacinamide, adenosine, and plant extracts. This one is fragrance-free, but is one of those that I feel has like plant extracts that are giving it a scent. It's honestly kind of reminding me a little bit of Tocobo, where it's like greenhousey a little bit, maybe a tiny bit more floral. I like the smell, and it doesn't irritate my skin. And this one is not water resistant. This is a silky, milky, creamy moisturizing lotion that dries down to feel like a slightly tacky moisturizer and has the most intensely radiant finish in this video by far. This is like a true glow filter or glow primer kind of product. So if that is something that you typically enjoy applying under makeup, but you also want it to have SPF 50, then this would be a really great one to reach for. By itself, it is definitely too intense for my skin type, but I think just like a little bit behind a foundation does really make it pop and look beautiful. Next up is the Dear Klairs All Day Airy Sunscreen, which has the sunscreen filters Uvinyl A+, Polysilicone 15, Uvinyl T150, and Tinasorb M, in addition to the following inactive highlights: niacinamide, olive M1000, panthenol, allantoin, adenosine, licorice root, and several plant extracts. It is fragrance-free, and I have not noticed a smell, and does claim to be water resistant. So this one is described as having a water-based gel texture, but I don't agree that this is a gel or watery. I mean, maybe they're just saying water-based because it's not oil-based and not like oily, but I also would not describe it as being airy. I think it's definitely one of the thicker options in this video. So I would maybe describe this as being a creamy lotion that has like a little bit of a gel quality to it, but it's definitely thicker and more emollient than all of the other sunscreens that I put in the actual gel category. This one has a very glowy to dewy finish and does dry down to feel like a moisturizer. It's not one that is super, super light and dry down. And I think that you would probably love this if you have dry skin, but I feel like it's just not quite what I am looking for my skin type. There's just like something about it that I'm like, And honestly, maybe it was just the expectation that I had that this would be super watery and gel-like, and it's not like that at all. That has made me not want to reach for this. But I don't know. There's just something I like better about the creamier sunscreens that I am choosing to keep than this one. Next, we have the B-Lab Matcha Hydrating Real Sunscreen. The sunscreen filters are octisalate, homosalate, Tinasorb M, Tinasorb S, Polysilicone 15, and Uvinyl A+. Inactive highlights include niacinamide, green tea leaf extract, ice plant extract, hyaluronic acid, and adenosine. This one is technically fragrance-free, but does, how would I describe this smell? So it has spearmint and water mint extracts. I don't feel that this smells minty, but there is something like a little fresh about it. So maybe it's from that. Very subtle though. And this one's not water resistant. This one has a creamy moisturizing lotion texture that is definitely thicker and more emollient than a lot of the others we've covered so far. It has a very glowy to dewy finish and is one of the only ones in this video that I feel like I notice a little bit of a white cast with it, and I feel like I'm just more so noticing that at my hairline than really anywhere else. I'm obviously super fair, so I'm not the best judge of what has a true white cast or not, but be mindful of that. If you do have a deeper complexion than me, I would be curious to know how this kind of settles down on your skin and if it leaves you a full-on white cast or what. I would say it has a moisturizer like dry down and is probably going to be something that, you know, if it doesn't leave a white cast on you, is something you'd really love if you have dry skin or dehydrated skin, because it's definitely moisturizing. You're getting that thicker feel. It's just not one that I feel like I have a need for in my collection. I prefer everything else I'm keeping to this. Next up is the Etude Soon Young X Director's Moisture Sun Cream. Sunscreen filters in this are Uvinyl T150, Mexoryl SX, Uvinyl A+, Polysilicone 15, and Tinasorb S. Key ingredients are Centella Asiatica, Biosaccharide Gum 1, Allantoin, and Panthenol, and this one is fragrance-free. I have never noticed a smell, still don't, and is not water resistant. I would describe this as being like a silky, velvety lotion cream hybrid, and I say that because while it's one of the creamier ones to the touch and isn't like runny or watery at all, it still is very light. I mean, not like as light as like our gels or our super fluid lotions, but the way that it dries down, yes, has like a light moisturizer feel, but does not feel heavy for me whatsoever. And this one I would say has a natural to naturally glowy finish. I used to feel that it was just like straight up natural, but again, I'm like, my skin just must be oilier now because I do definitely see a bit more of a glow, or maybe my skin's just glowier. And this is one that I am definitely going to keep in my collection. It's one of the creamiest options here that I still really love and love to reach for and apply and have on my skin. It's just so nice. Next up is the Thank You Farmer Sun Project Light Sun Essence, which again, I was really excited to try because of the way it was named or described. The sunscreen filters include octinoxate, homosalate, octisalate, Uvinyl A+, and octocrylene. Inactive key ingredients are green purslane extract, lotus flower water, soybean lipids, achium seed oil. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. Achium, aloe vera extract, sunflower seed oil, this word, you guys. You know what? I'll just let you read that. I'm not even gonna attempt. And Sacha Inky, I think, seed oil. Sacha Inchi, Saka Inky. This one is not fragrance free, but the scent is subtle. I like it actually. It's like a very light, fresh citrus, and it's not water resistant. Despite being called a light, what's it called? A light sun essence, this has a creamy texture. It's definitely very soft, but it's one that is emollient and quite moisturizing. Sunscreens like this always surprise me when they feel super creamy like that, but they don't look dewy on my skin. Like, I would say that this one is more just naturally glowy, and to the touch, it has a moisturizer like dry down. While I can definitely appreciate a bit of a creamier sunscreen, I think that this one crosses the threshold of being a little bit too thick and a little bit too emollient for my personal preference. I feel like this is the type of thing that I would enjoy as a nighttime moisturizer, not something that I'm putting on top of the rest of my skincare and potentially underneath makeup for the day. But if you're dry, I'm sure you'll love. We're coming to the end here. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sunscreens left. This is the Hygi Vegan Sun Cream, which has the sunscreen filters Uvinyl A+, Tinasorb S, Uvinyl T150, amyloxate, and polysilicone 15, in addition to inactive ingredient highlights like niacinamide, beetroot extract, glucose, fructose, and adenosine. This is fragrance-free and does smell a little bit like alcohol, and it's not water resistant. This is such an interesting sunscreen to me because it's like the creamier sister of the Beauty of Joseon sunscreen at first. They seem, you know, very similar, but like this one, when you're first swatching it, feeling it, rubbing it into your skin, it's like, okay, this is gonna be creamier, heavier, but it doesn't end up feeling heavy at all or super emollient, and it still dries down pretty quickly for me. So when I was looking at the ingredients list, I was like, oh, that's interesting. Alcohol's the second ingredient, which I think for all of these creamier sunscreens is the only one that is set up like that, because, you know, not that this is something that like matters or I'm choosing a sunscreen based off of. I just personally find it interesting, like how that translates into my experience with it. But like everything else that has alcohol as a second ingredient is one of those that's the true watery or gel-like texture. And this one's so creamy and definitely still feels moisturizing for me. I would say that it dries down to have like a satin finish, so it's not something that feels super creamy or moisturizing to the touch, more just, yeah, like satiny, and has a glowy finish. I really enjoy so much about this, but I do think that because it's so similar to Beauty of Joseon, and I like Beauty of Joseon a little bit better, I don't personally have a need to keep this one. But if that is something that sounds enticing to you, like something that is creamier, yet still dries down quickly and to feel light on the skin, then it's one worth trying for sure. Next, we have the Ionic Centella Calming Daily Sunscreen. Okay. The sunscreen filters in this are Uvinyl A+, Uvinyl T150, Tinazorb M, and Polysilicone 15. Key inactive highlights include Centella Asiatica extract, niacinamide, beta-glucan, allantoin, adenosine, licorice root, and glucose. This is fragrance-free, and I don't really notice a smell with it. And this one is water resistant. This one has a soft, velvety cream texture that is definitely on the thicker, creamier side. Obviously, that is where we have been kind of like, what's the word? I was gonna say graduating towards, and that's not the word I'm looking for. That's how this video has been progressing, from the lightest to the thickest and creamiest. But it doesn't feel heavy. I would say that it has a light moisturizer dry down with a dewy finish. I think that you'll be obsessed with this one if you have drier skin, because you're getting that thicker, creamier feel without any grease, any like just pore cloggy feel. You guys know what I'm talking about. Just because something feels like it's gonna clog your pores obviously doesn't mean it's going to, but there is a distinct feel for that. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like, there are just things that I apply and I'm like, God, this just feels like it's gunking up my pores, and this is nothing like that. I feel like this is a really good winter sunscreen for me, especially when I'm not wearing makeup, because even though this isn't heavy, I just don't always want something super creamy under makeup. So this is perfect for those occasions, which sadly enough is actually a lot here in this state. It's winter for a lot of the months. Next up, we have a sunscreen that I feel like I was seeing everywhere for a while, and now when I search for it on Google, it doesn't pop up a lot of places aside from the brand's own website. It is the House of Dawa Rice Bran Sunscreen. The sunscreen filters in this are Uvinyl T150, Mexoryl SX, Uvinyl A+, Polysilicone 15, and Tinazorb S, and key and active highlights are niacinamide, rice bran extract, Centella Asiatica extract, purslane extract, adenosine, and biosaccharide gum 1. This is not fragrance free, and I, shockingly, also have a hard time pinpointing what this smells like to me. I wrote down light fresh perfume ? Like, what does that mean? But that's what I get. Certainly nowhere near the level of potency as the Missha, where are you? My worst enemy. Way, way, way subtler. This is a lighter weight cream that is emollient and moisturizing, but again, not heavy or greasy. It is something that I think is just like a little more slippy and emollient in texture than I really love. It has a moisturizer like dry down and a very glowy to dewy finish. So again, another that I think you'll really love if you have dry skin. It's just not a top favorite for me, so I don't feel the need to keep it. 3 left. How you doing, editor Emily? The final 3 sunscreens are the thickest and creamiest, and I'm not keeping any of them. Let's go. Let's dive in. First is the cream version of the Thank You Farmer sunscreen. This is the Thank You Farmer Sun Project Water Sun Cream. The sunscreen filters are octinoxate, homosalate, octisalate, Uvinyl A+, and octocrylene. Inactive ingredient highlights are, for the most part, the same as the essence. And it also has that same light citrus scent, so it's not fragrance-free and it's not water resistant. So this, again, is one of the thickest, creamiest options in this video for sure, and I think the reason why I'm not obsessed with it is because it's just not quite as silky or velvety as my favorite Asian sunscreens that do have a creamier texture. This is another that dries down to feel lighter than I expected, given the fact that while I'm applying it, it feels a bit heavier. I would say it has like a light moisturizer dry down, and the finish is very dewy with radiance. Definitely just too much for my personal preference, so when I combine that with the fact that I'm not obsessed with how it feels when I apply it, this is just not one that I want in my life. But if you're dry, if you're dehydrated, this might be exactly what you're looking for. Second to last is the Celomax Oil Control Light Sunscreen. It's not light. There's nothing light about this. Sunscreen filters are zinc oxide, Uvinyl A+, Tinazorb S, Uvinyl T150, and titanium dioxide. Inactive ingredient highlights are niacinamide, almond extract, some other plant extracts, adenosine, and hyaluronic acid. This one is fragrance-free. I don't recall any smell, nope, and is not water resistant. Just kind of surprising, honestly. I'm like, if you're gonna do what this did to my skin, how are you not? Because this is a thicker cream texture that honestly feels kind of pasty for me when I apply it, and a little bit greasy. It's definitely not like, oh my God, this is crazy greasy, but compared to all of these other sunscreens that are so beautifully elegant, I'm like, And while I enjoy that this has a natural finish when it dries down and kind of a soft velvety feel to the touch, it's one of the only ones, again, that leaves a white cast on my skin, which, I mean, I'm like acting so shocked. Zinc oxide is one of the active ingredients. But I've also tried other Asian sunscreens that have zinc oxide, and they're, you know, combo sunscreens like this where they're mixed with other filters and they don't leave a white cast for me like this one does. So I would just skip this one altogether. I feel like this is honestly the only one in this video where I'm like, I just don't recommend this at all, no matter what your skin type is. And last, number 35 is the Haru Haru Wonder Black Rice Moisture Airy Fit Daily Sunscreen. The sunscreen filters in this are Uvinyl T150, Mexorol SX, Uvinyl A+, Polysilicone 15, and Tinazorb S. And the inactive highlights include niacinamide, this word right here, don't ask, I'm not going to, rice extract, rice bran oil, adenosine, biosaccharide gum 1, moringa seed oil, and ceramide NP. It is fragrance free, and I have not noticed a smell. No, none. And I don't think this is water resistant. I was not able to find claims about that. This has a thick cream texture. Like, in my opinion, this one's the thickest. At least, I guess I should say, not in the way that it dries down, because I actually don't think it's heavy, but when you first pump it out of the bottle, when you first rubbing it in, like, it feels the creamiest to me. This one's not as seamless to blend into my skin as some of the others. Like, so many of these are just like silk when I'm rubbing them in. This one is a little bit stiffer, but you know, is not an issue to apply. What I love about this one is the natural finish. Again, I think that this is one that you would expect to look super dewy or wet on the skin because it's thicker and creamier, but for me, it's a totally natural dry down. And I would say that it feels like a slightly tacky moisturizer, which I think makes for a really nice base for makeup. Weirdly enough, I feel that there are some other sunscreens in this video that feel more moisturizing for me. I know for a lot of people, they're like, oh my God, this is like perfect as a moisturizer alternative. And you guys know I love to use sunscreen in place of moisturizer, but I felt like every time that I put this on and then didn't put makeup on top, so like was truly judging this by itself as a moisturizer, it was not the most moisturizing in this video. Not that it's not moisturizing at all, but I think I just was really expecting that based on the feel, based on what I was hearing about it. And for my skin, I was like, some of these other ones, I think I get more of that. Like, for example, I think the Ionic moisturizer feels more moisturizing for me. But if you are someone that enjoys a thicker cream like this, but you want a totally natural dry down, this is really like one of the only ones you're gonna get that with. I'm looking at all of these, I'm like, non-greasy velvet finish. Yep. I would agree. I think that sums it up perfect. We did it. 35 popular Asian sunscreens reviewed. Obviously, I know that there are so many others out there that people really enjoy, but I had to draw the line somewhere, and 35 sunscreens was it. I hope that you found this helpful in figuring out which sunscreen is going to be the best fit for not only your skin type, but also just your preference when it comes to the way a sunscreen feels, how it applies, how it looks in finish. I know that so much of the choice that we make about which beauty products to use and keep in our routine really comes down to the experience of using them. So I really hope that this helped you to get a feel for what that would be, and again, figure out which you're gonna like best and which ones you should probably skip. Let me know what those are in the comments below. I am sure that most of you have used at least one, if not several of these sunscreens before, so let me know your experience with these. Let us know your skin type as well, because obviously I am just one person with one particular skin type, and there are so many other experiences that are important to consider, and I know that, you know, you guys also love reading those comments as well to hear from other people that watch my videos, what they felt, and yeah, how these sunscreens worked for them. Before you go, if you did enjoy this video, found it helpful, and would like to see more like this from me, where I review a ton of products in one singular category, make sure to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, click on that notification bell, send my channel to a friend. All of those things really helped us. Okay, I need to wrap up. All of those things really help to support me and mean so, so much to me. So thank you for doing that. Thank you for watching my videos. I love the freaking heck out of you guys. I feel like we should grab sweet baby. Peanuts, you wanna come say hi? Oh, come here. Oh my God, it doesn't get cuter. It literally doesn't. Oh, hi Peanut. Are you having a good nappy? My next video will be up in a week, but until then, Elsie and I hope you have a great week.